Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever you're joining us from, this is episode 3 of the NaijaFC podcast. And of course, I'm here again, AyoT from Eagle Tracker, and I have my co host with me.
Smith Layi.
Yes, Smith Layi, the Nigerian Football Encyclopedia. We're back again to have another interesting conversation with you guys. As always, we appreciate your support on the podcast so far. We appreciate everybody that has subscribed, that has been listening, sharing in, and racking up, the views and listens across all platforms. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button now. Wherever you're watching or listening from. We have a number of topics to discuss, ranging from the FIFA Women's World Cup to a number of transfers and potential transfers that are happening in Nigerian football. Summer is a very busy time, and a lot has been happening in this past week since we brought you the last episode. To respect the biggest tournament that is going on right now, Smith Lai will kick things off with the Super Falcons at the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup. Let's first talk about that opening match that we had against Canada. Um, a goalless draw, but an intense goalless draw. The Super Falcons were able to pick up 1 point. Against the odds, most of the bookmakers, the betting websites, they had us as big, big, big underdogs in that game, and we
Yes.
were able to pull off the results, get a draw. A fantastic penalty save by Chiamaka Anadozie along the way. We also had an unfortunate red card for Debora Abiodun. What was your assessment of the whole game in general, and how pleased or displeased were you with the results?
So this is actually a fair result from Nigerian's perspective. I think Canada would think that they will probably should have got a win in that game because it's the game
Mm,
between the top ranked team and the bottom ranked team in that group. Canada they are ranked 7th in the world, while Nigeria were actually ranked 40th in the world. So it's
that's
like
it. Yeah.
it's what people call like a mismatch. But we stood
Mm,
up to be counted. And what I can just say about the game is that it's very good not to lose your first game. Then you have a chance to fight. If you lose your first game,
yeah.
you will be under pressure. I was so happy the way the guys stood up. I was happy the way they stood up. And the result is not a bad result for Nigeria. And I'm pretty happy how it ended.
Mm. And I definitely have to agree with you. It's very important not to lose your first game, especially in this tournament where it's only 3 matches that you get to pull
Hmm.
up, your results. And Coach Randy Wardrum himself also said it many times leading up to the tournament that he really, really would want us to get a result against Canada so that we don't put so much pressure on ourselves going into the other games. Because if we lose against Canada, lose the second game against Australia, you're already out before you even get to the third game, which
Yes.
people will maybe say is the most winnable game.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk very quickly about Chiamaka Nnadozie. Fantastic penalty save, diving low to I think it's her left hand side, Christian
Yes.
Sinclair's right hand side. Stopped the highest goal scorer in international football from scoring from the penalty spots. What did you
Yes.
think of Chiamaka's performance in that game? And how would you rate her among the goalkeepers in this tournament?
So, like up to that game, that was probably the best goalkeeping performance in the entire competition. I can tell you that. I saw some of the
Mm,
games and I realized that she's actually top notch. That Sinclair was so sure that that penalty is actually what going. The way she was confident, she knew that just to pick her spots, but she made a match in Chiamaka Nnadozie. And
she met her
something
match.
just told me, I saw your what's it called, your watch along, and the way you screamed
Yeah.
when Nnadozie actually
When
was
she made
saved
that
that
save.
penalty. That was actually how I felt too. Before that penalty, I just think that this lady will actually make a statement in this World Cup. And now
Mm.
the Athletic, the BBC, ESPN, they are just full of her praise that no, she's a top-notch goalkeeper. This is like one of the best goalkeeper performances I've seen so far, and for a Nigerian goalkeeper for a while. And to add to it, she's going to be the goalkeeper to have kept 2 clean sheets at a World Cup. No Nigerian goalkeeper have done that before.
and I mean back to back World Cups for that matter. Because
Yes.
last World Cup in 2019, she only
Yeah.
became the youngest goalkeeper to keep a clean sheet at the tournament. And then this
Yes.
year, starting with another clean sheet. I've
Mm-hmm.
always held the opinion that Chamaka is one of the best goalkeepers in the world, and I was not surprised, I was very, very happy with the way she performed against Canada. I know that she has that kind of potential. And hopefully, she can continue like that. Let's also talk about the youngster that was making her debut in the World Cup. I mean, there were a number of players making their debuts in that game, World Cup debuts, I mean. But Debora Abiodun is who I want to talk about in particular. She did well for Nigeria at the under 20 level. She just recently started playing for the University of Pittsburgh in the United States. And Coach Randy Waldrum drafted her into the squad. Some people felt she deserved the place. Some people felt like she didn't necessarily deserve the place. But she she performed, in that game. She was all over the park, playing alongside Christy Uchebe in that midfield, making tackle after tackle, winning balls back for Nigeria. But unfortunately, very, very late in the game, she made one badly timed tackle. I mean, we have to be realistic, we have to be honest with ourselves. It was a poor tackle, well deserved sending off. But what did you think of her performance in general? Do you think that this red card that she picked up would affect her style, her confidence, when she's back in the team?
I think this game against Canada is actually a good audition for her at the world stage. A lot of people were full of praise because me too. I did not really support her inclusion for the tournament because I think that
Mm,
we'll have selected better experienced player, but she proved me wrong.
mm,
In fact, the way she settled down in that game was actually unbelievable. And prior to that setting off, she was one of our best player on the pitch. So I think that we have a star in the midfield in the making. I don't think this one will actually what affect her. I just don't want this to be the last game she will play in this tournament. So I want us to progress
mm.
from the group stage so that you can have a chance again to play in a World Cup game. Very fantastic performance, and I think there's still more to call from her. Very good play. A lot of people do not support her inclusion, but now she has actually what proved us wrong. We are really what in support of
Mm.
her. Very good performance from her, and I expect a lot from her.
And do you think that is something that shows how fans don't necessarily have the full picture? Because we sometimes, like you said, even you were not in support of our inclusion initially, and then
Yeah.
we wonder like, what is the coach really seeing from this player that is making them, select a particular player? But then we were able to see what Debora Abiodun, was
Hmm.
showing in training that made the coach consider her
Hmm.
worthy to go to the World Cup.
Yeah.
Let's talk about two other players. Ifeoma Onumonu and Asisat Oshoala. A tale of two very different performances in my own opinion. Ifeoma Onumonu is a player that Nigerian fans have been bashing, giving her the stick
Hmm.
since the WAFCON when they felt like she didn't perform because she only scored
Yeah.
one goal. I mean,
Hmm.
and Oshoala was another player that some people have not been liking how she's performing for Nigeria. I thought Onumonu had a pretty good game for us in that match. Honestly,
Hmm.
she played from the left wing, which at the beginning of the game I was a little bit surprised to see. But she kind of showed herself, at a decent level. She had Nigeria's only shot on target in that game, and I mean, other than the fact that she's not, a very pacey player that likes to cross balls. I felt like she was slightly one-dimensional in that game, always trying to cut it onto her right foot and try to pick out a shot. I thought other than that, she had a pretty good game. Whereas Oshoala, who was playing as the number nine, was pretty much isolated in the whole game, and she didn't really, do anything in that match. Was there anything that surprised or that did not surprise you about the performances of those two players?
For Ifeanyi Onumonu, I was actually what surprised the way she performed. In fact, she even proved me wrong because in the first game against South Africa at the WAFCON, she played a similar role when Oshoala was playing before she got injured. And we were wondering that what was Randy doing? That why is she doing all these things? But Randy again proved us wrong with that selection. And if you look at the stats, Onumonu had the highest pass accuracy in the whole of the team. That was about 78%.
Mm,
And what's it called? And Oshoala too, since area balls, Onumenu had like four shots 4 shots in that game. So, the stats speaks a lot that she was really actually what involved. Out of all the players in the forward line, it was Ifeanyi Onumenu that was much involved in that play. So I was really impressed with her performance, and it was a big stand ovation for her when she left the pitch. A lot of fans really applauded her for the effort she actually what did. So I was really impressed with Ifeanyi Onumenu. But with that situation, I understand. A lot of Nigerian fans want her to be running down the flanks, to be chasing opponents. You cannot compare yourself 8 years ago to 8 years now. If you go and do what you are doing 8 years ago, you go and do it again now. You might injure yourself. Even in the other room, you cannot do what you are doing 8 years ago and come and do it in the now. You will get ACL. So it's very important we know this thing, that as you progress in football, your football career, you adapt your game too. And I think that the way Isaac adapt her game, she's like a poacher. So she's not someone that will be chasing around the ball again. Just put the ball on the plate for her, she will deliver. So that's the reason, that's what Nigeria did not see. That's why they actually was complaining. If we had, like me, proper domination in that game, I'm pretty sure that Super Z, Isaac Oshoala, will actually would score in that game. But I cannot fault the performance. Her movement was good. She was ostensibly the central defense of Canadian. So I'm really happy about her. She did what she's meant to do. That's why the coach did not really take her off until the 90th minute.
Mm. And I mean, if I were the coach, honestly, I'll keep her on the field as well. Because for me, even if she's having a bad game, she still remains the biggest threat. She still remains the player that the opponents will be paying attention to and making sure that they can curtail. You know, if if Messi is having a bad game, I used this example on live the other time. If Messi is having a bad game, the coach is probably still going to leave Messi on the field because you know that if at all in the last minute you want to get one chance, you want it to fall to Messi. And Asisa Oshoala is our Messi. She's by
Yes.
far our best player, 5 time African best. Nobody can compare with her as far as resume or even performance, throughout the season. In this
Mm-hmm.
past season that she, even though she was injured, a lot in the season, she still had a fantastic record. I think she scored like 23 goals or something like that. The next highest goal scorer was Ajibade with 10 goals. So,
Mm-hmm.
the reality of it is that it's not even close. Unfortunately, she didn't have her best game. She didn't really have service. She didn't really have her time on the ball. She was trying her best to just run over and do as much as she could. Sometimes it was clicking, sometimes it was not. But hopefully, moving on to the games that are coming up, she'll hopefully be able to have a better impact. And speaking of the upcoming games, let's quickly preview the matches against Australia and Ireland. Um, on Thursday, July 27th, we are facing the host nation, Australia. You know,
Yes.
um, Thankfully, they are without their star player for this game, Samantha Kerr.
Mm-hmm.
But still, they are going to have, I don't know what the capacity of the stadium is. I think
About
60,000 plus fans
60,000. Yeah.
are
Yeah.
going to be in attendance. It's going to be mostly Australian fans in that stadium. Maybe a sprinkle of Niger green every here and there, but it's going to
Yeah.
be mostly Australian fans. And I mean, we have to be honest with ourselves. Even though they don't have Sam Kerr, they still have a good enough squad that can cause problems for the opposition.
Mm-hmm.
If care is not taken. In their game against Ireland, their opening group game, they kept 63% of the ball. So they're a team that likes to keep possession. They took 13 shots. They took a lot of shots, but only 2 on target. So maybe that's something that goes against them in a sense. And they committed a lot of fouls as well. Looking at the Australian side, and the matchup that is coming against Nigeria in that second game on Thursday. What do you think we can do to achieve, a potentially better result than what we even got against Canada?
I would just say that we should keep it the way we did against Canada. I can tell you that because the game plan against Canada was so good, and I saw the Australia game against Ireland too, and I know they are very beatable team too. They are not as structured at the
Mm,
back compared to Canada. They have mistakes in them,
mm,
so I think that Ireland used a 3-4-3 formation, against them. And so the fullbacks for of Ireland, the wing backs, they are really high up the pitch. So they actually caused what's it called? They were running down the channels. So they caused Australia. They were trying to drag the wing back, the left and right backs of Australia down the channel. So they caused them a lot of problem. So if our wingers can do that too, I think they're gonna be in trouble. And it's a good news too that we're having Adematu Ainde back. Though we're having her back, we don't know the level of her fitness, but we're having her back. We're also having Rashida Ajibade back too in the team. So those are good players that can actually really help us offensively and both defensively too. So I think that what we just need to change basically is that maybe our right hand side when Odega operates, we just need to be more more effective in that area. Maybe Rashidat can actually come in, but I don't think the coach will change anything. I think Rashidat can actually come in and do some things there. I just think that if we can trouble them on the flanks, they have mistakes in them, and when we get set pieces too, we should actually make use of it because I can see what Randy is trying to do with that set pieces, and it caused Canada problem. So if he can do this, if he can do the same thing against Australia, I think we might nick one or two goals in that game and win it, and be on our way to the quarterfinal, to the second round.
I mean, if we can pull out a win against Australia, it'll be very impressive. But I think I would agree with you in the sense that they are beatable. But at the same time, we need to find that balance, between trying to go out for the win and also making sure that we are not leaving ourselves open. We have to
Mm-hmm.
stay disciplined in defense, and pick our moments. I'm very happy with the inclusion of Ainde and Rashida Ajibade, in that game because I think one, Ainde coming in midfield would allow a player like Christy Uchebe to be able to play more of a box to box role, and she'll be
Mm-hmm.
able to offer some support to the attacking midfielders and the striker. And also Ajibade, whichever flank she's playing from. I mean, I personally always prefer her to play from the left,
Mm-hmm.
but whichever flank she's playing from, she's going to be another threat for your position that they're going to have to look at. They cannot
Mm-hmm.
pay all the attention to assist at Oshoala. Because if they
Yes.
do, then it's going to be to their own detriment. And like you were saying, she's somebody that will be able to drag the defenders, all over the field because they have to pay attention to her and they have to
Yes.
watch her. She can
Yes.
keep the ball, she can dribble with the ball, she can cause quality problems for the opposition. And if she needs to shoot, she can shoot. If she needs to whip in a cross, she can whip in a cross. So it's going to be a very interesting one. I mean, if we can win this game against Australia, it would be very, very big for our hopes of qualifying, to the round of 16 of the competition. I'm
Mm-hmm.
really looking forward to it, honestly. It's going to be an interesting game. From what the girls and ladies have shown in that first match, you'd want to believe that they have it in them to achieve, that result. I really
Yes.
just hope that they are able to apply themselves properly. And like you said, we give kudos to the coach Randy Wardrum for his setup in that first game. The ladies were well drilled, well instructed. They knew
Yes.
exactly what they needed to do and they were able to execute. Just unfortunate that we were not able to get, any really clear-cut opportunity. We had some half chances, but nothing really clear. With Ajibade coming in, and like I said, with Uchebe and Tony Payne having protection at the back so they're able to express themselves more. Hopefully, we can create a few better chances in the game against Australia. Okay, let's quickly look at Ireland as well. The Irish side, from what I personally noticed from them, they are a very aggressive side, almost like
Yes.
us.
Mm-hmm.
They commit a lot of fouls. They
Mm-hmm.
go in for every tackle.
Yes.
They play with heart. And they have some quality, but obviously they are not the most talented side in the tournament or in the group. What do you think can be the key to securing a win against Ireland? Because if even if we don't win against Australia, we still have that game to play, which can potentially be the deciding factor for us. So what do you think can be the key to getting a win against Ireland?
About the Ireland game, it depends on how our second result actually what goes because
Mm,
situations could actually what arise in case if we beat Australia in our second game and probably Ireland too beats Canada. That means that
mm,
Nigeria will be looking for at least a draw in the last game. Ireland will be looking for a win in the last game, and that one might play to our hands. because they want to come out very well and we can actually load them.
And we
So that one could
expose
actually
themselves. Yeah.
yes, they could expose themselves. And that situation is that if the game against if the Ireland game ended and Canada ended 1-1, and the Nigerian game will actually drew that game too. That means that Australia, we actually we want at least a draw from the game against Canada. So the issue is that Canada wants a draw or a win in that game. But what I can just say about that game is this: we need to be patient because we've had issues too,
Mm.
trying to break teams down that were better than. We just keep on saying you know, I remember the game against Botswana. Was it Botswana? Like it took us slightly a while to break them down during the WAFCON. The game we won 2-0. I was not sure, maybe it was Botswana. So you just know when you're better than your side, sometimes you know you are prone to some potential mistakes. But I think that there is no hiding place for Ireland that I saw against Australia. I think that we should be good enough to actually want to beat them. So I just think that we have a lot of skillful players that can commit them, they make fouls, and making fouls in dangerous areas, even penalty. Then you know through that all those small details, we can actually beat them. Don't forget that they are rocky in these tournaments. This is the first time they're going to appear here. So and they're even ranked above us. That's what surprised me. But that's a story for another day. But
Yeah.
so I think that the Ireland game would not be that difficult for us. I think we should be good for
Mm.
that game. We might end up having seven
No,
points in
and I
this.
mean,
This we might end up having seven points.
if we can finish with 7 points,
Yeah.
I mean, 7 points would honestly be very amazing. It would be very impressive. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
hope that we're actually able to achieve such a result.
Mm-hmm.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but that will be our best finish in a World
Yeah.
Cup group stage ever
Yes.
if we're able to
That, that
get 7 points.
yes.
You know,
That would
okay,
be.
I guess the question I'll throw to you is that who do you think is most likely to get on the score sheet for us? I mean, one game so far we did not score. Who do you think is the most likely player to be able to score a goal for the Super Falcons?
I just think that if we are going to get a goal through set pieces, I just think Ifeanyi Onumenu, they will might probably be the person to get that goal because the
From
way she
our
position. Yes, Ifeanyi Onumenu, I think she can. If you're my yeah, sorry, I didn't say Ifeanyi. Sorry. If you're my sorry, apologies if she's listening. So yeah, I think she can actually get the goal. Don't forget that I think she blocked one shot in the game against Ireland. So or her shot was blocked. I think you see that one of the two that was like a go band
Yeah.
shot, but the shot was blocked. So I just think that if it's true set pieces, she might actually would be the one. But if it's going to be true open play, I think it's going to be Ajibade Rashidat. I think so.
Mm,
Yes,
interesting.
yes.
I think I'll say for me, probably from set pieces, I'm looking more at the likes of um Ashley Plumter if she plays. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I like her threat from set pieces, but also, another thing that I'm thinking of is that if we score from set piece, it might not even be a direct header from set piece. It could
Mm-hmm.
be maybe a second ball. You know, somebody
Yeah,
heads the
second.
ball, then the ball
Yeah,
drops in
yeah.
and then a
Go,
second ball and then somebody
yeah,
can blast it. So if
yeah,
anyone is in the right position, of course she can get a goal. And of course I'm rooting for Ajibade to be able to score for us as well. But
yeah.
I can't be. I'm not picky. Anybody that wants to score can score. I'm not picky
Of
at
course.
all.
Yes,
We'll take
yes.
the goal wherever
Mm-hmm.
it comes
It
from.
comes from yeah.
And of course Ireland. I also believe that Ireland are a very beatable side. Everybody is ranked above us, but still we can show ourselves. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like for whatever reason, African teams are always underrated. I mean, it is
Yes.
what it is. But we have to go there and prove ourselves. We have to go there and prove these people wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a potential to really stamp our feet in this tournament. If we can finish first in the group, that would be amazing. Even if we finish second, we'll likely maybe play against England if England are able to win their group. But at
Yeah.
the same time, I watched the English play against Haiti. And Haiti caused them a lot of problems in that game.
Yes. Yes.
So I was like, is this not the Haiti that we just beat in
Yes.
friendly that is giving
Yes.
England a problem like this?
Mm-hmm.
So if we actually draw up against England, I'm pretty sure that the girls too would have some confidence that it doesn't matter they are
Who
playing
are playing
against,
against?
that they'll be able
Mm-hmm.
to pull out something amazing. So that's a very interesting one on the Women's World Cup. Before we switch to the next topic, let's just do predictions very quickly. Nigeria against Australia. What's your prediction for that game?
Ah, the last one I got it wrong against Canada. I said 2-1. We draw 0-0.
We both got it wrong. Don't
We go
worry.
very wrong. Even you picked two because
Yeah.
you picked 2-1 before 2-2. You were just changing your score, but you got everything wrong. So against Australia, I think it's gonna be 0-0 again.
Mm.
Against Australia, I think it's gonna be 0-0 again. It's gonna be
Against
0-0 or
Australia,
Nigeria
I'm
1-0.
going. I'm going to go with 1-1 against
Mm-hmm.
Australia. I hope
Okay.
my hope is that we can win 1-0, but
Mhm.
I'll just go 1-1.
Yeah,
I
I
think
want
we
one
might
zero too. I
potentially
think
draw
also
that
can
game.
happen, but I think the Australian doesn't have they don't have plan B. If that one doesn't work, it doesn't
Mm.
work. So they keep on doing the same thing over and over. The guests will just keep their shape, then the game is over again. So I think 0-0 or 1 in Nigeria.
Okay, and Nigeria against Ireland. What's your prediction for that one?
2-0 or 3-0 Nigeria. That's a
Yeah, 2-0
straightforward.
or 3-0. I like that.
Yes, yes,
Big confidence in that one.
yes.
I think for that game, I'll go 2-0 for that game as well. I
Mm-hmm.
believe that we have enough quality to beat Ireland and to impose ourselves, in
Yeah.
that game.
Mm-hmm.
We just have to be confident on the ball. We have to string pieces of play together. And
Yes,
hopefully we can achieve a positive result. Honestly, I'm
yes,
looking forward to something really exciting from these girls. I believe
yes,
in them so much.
yeah.
Okay, okay, okay.
But I want to ask you a question before we continue.
Interest. Okay, go on. Go on.
Yeah. If Ireland beat Canada and
Yeah.
Ireland is now probably they need a draw against us, what do you think will happen?
If they beat Canada, they will have 3 points. And
Yes.
then they need a draw against
And
us. I
we lost
mean,
to Australia. Or we drew.
okay, so assuming we lose to Australia as well. So
Mm-hmm.
if we lose to Australia, Ireland win, it will be 3 points for Australia, 3 points for Ireland, 1 point for Nigeria, and 1 point for Canada going into the
Yes.
final game.
Yes.
Assuming that happens.
Yes.
At that point, we would have no choice but to go and look for a win.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And I honestly believe that against the Irish, if we go out there to win, we'll win.
Yes.
I honestly believe so. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think it matters how much they defend. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think, I mean, maybe I might be wrong, but I don't think that they have the defensive skill that if they allow Nigeria to just keep on coming at them, coming at them, coming at them,
Mm-hmm.
I think we would eventually break them down, with the kind of quality that we have. Even if it's from a sloppy mistake, even if it's we roll to the answer goal, I believe that if they allow us to keep coming at them, we're going to score. So I think,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what happens in the second match, I honestly think that we'll beat Ireland. Honestly, regardless
Yeah.
of what happens, the
Same.
only thing that might maybe stop us from beating them in that third game is if we win against Australia.
Yes.
Let's say we win against Australia and then Ireland draw with Canada. So it will be four for Nigeria, three for Australia, two for Canada, one for Ireland. If that happens, then maybe in that final match, we might not have our foot on the gas totally because
Mm-hmm.
we might be looking at, okay, just get 1 point, finish with five, and potentially top or come second, even if Australia
Yeah.
should win their third game and end up with
Mm-hmm.
6 points.
Yes.
But I strongly believe that we have enough quality to beat Ireland, regardless of the circumstances, honestly.
Mm. Yeah. Me too. I think so too. So sorry, one more
Mm.
question. If what's
Okay,
going to
go
be your
on, go on.
favorite result between Canada and Ireland? What will be your favorite
My,
result? Yeah.
I would like them to draw.
Yes.
I would like them to draw. I don't care if it's 10-10. If they can draw, that would be a good one for us. Let
Yes.
Canada have 2 points. Let Ireland have 1 point on the
One
board.
point.
I'm perfectly fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously, if anybody wins that game, because they are playing a day before us. So if
Yes.
anybody wins that game, automatically the person goes above us,
Yes.
before we
Yes.
play.
Yeah.
Obviously, when somebody goes above you before you play, it now puts the pressure on you to go and
Yeah.
get a
To
result.
go and get the result. Yes.
So my preference would be they can go there and they can play 5-5 if they like,
Mm-hmm.
or 10-10. As they draw, I'll be happy.
Yes. Yes, me too. Draw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about a Super Falcons player. She's not at the World Cup, but big news. Something very interesting just happened in her life. I'm talking about the sister of Tony Payne. Tony Payne, who is at the World Cup, her younger sister Nicole Payne. Nicole Payne played for Nigeria at the WAFCON in 2022, but Randy Wardrum did not select her for this World Cup squad. And at the tender age of 22, she's able to have made a transfer. From a free agent, so not even a transfer. She signed
Mm-hmm.
her first professional contract with
Mm-mm.
Paris Saint-Germain Feminine in France. One of the biggest clubs in women's football, perennial champions in France, a team that competes in UEFA Champions League year after year. What do you think of that move? How big is it really?
That move came to me as a surprise. If I say that I'm not surprised, I'm lying. I thought our move should be in the USA, the guy, and maybe probably because I think she's cool there. But when our sister announced
Yeah,
that
yeah. She went to University of Southern California.
yeah, not California, yeah. So when her sister announced that she's gonna be leaving, she's gonna be going to PSG because it was his sister that said it first before they announced it. So when I listened to her sister's interview, I was so surprised that this is a very big move for her, and I think it's also very good for Nigerian
Mm,
football because we have a player now playing in these top European clubs, and is like a good thing
mm,
for us. And one advantage again is this: she's only 22, so it's like the Falcons of the future. So we are also having players to
mm.
replace the Onomebis of this world, the Alimatu Inde of this world, the Ngozi Kobe of this world. We're also having players coming up to replace them now. So it's so good for Nigeria, and I'm really, really happy for her personally because she finished her study. I'm so happy for her professional career too. It's very, very big for Nigeria.
Mm. No, it's definitely a big one, and I mean, I also was surprised to hear about the move, from college to straight to PSG, one of the biggest teams in the world.
Mm-hmm.
PSG just sold their fullback, Ashley Lawrence, to
Mm-hmm.
Chelsea. So, she's potentially coming in as a replacement for Ashley Lawrence.
Right,
And it's
yeah.
going to be a huge stepping stone for her to continue to build her career.
Yes.
She can very easily win in the next 5 years. She can win six, seven, eight trophies if
Mm-mm.
things go well for her. She
For
can
yes.
become a fine player, playing for that
Mm-hmm.
PSG side, and her reputation is going to go up a lot. I
Yes.
also want to give a shout out to Coach Abby Payne, the mother of Tony and Nicole Payne. She has been working so hard, coaching these girls, training them since they were youngsters. And I mean, they have a brother who is a footballer as well in the United States, and I can only imagine their mother's joy to see that, all her
Mm-hmm.
children were able to get to this level and play professional football. It must really be satisfying knowing
Yeah.
that, she puts in the work. And Nigerian girls now that are growing up in Nigeria, the way boys are looking at Project Mbappe, we too can look at Project Pain,
Pain, yes. We get
and,
pain,
and
yes.
try to emulate, what the Payne sisters and have been able to
I
do
do.
for
Yes.
themselves. Tony in Sevilla, Nicole in PSG.
We get pain.
Both of them have already played for Super Falcons. I
Yes.
mean, now that Nicole is playing in PSG, she'll probably rejoin the Super Falcons in the near future.
Yes.
I think it's a really, really exciting one. I chatted with her briefly after they announced it. I'm looking forward to watching her. If I'm ever in France, I'll try to go and see a game. I think the
Yes.
future is very, very bright for her. It's going to be exciting to watch her over the next few years and see how she develops as a pro player.
Yes.
Um, Okay, okay. That's that on Tony Payne, and we wrap up our talk about the female players.
Yes.
Let's move on to the male players now. Still talking about transfers. We've had a number of transfers that happened over the past week, or thereabouts. Um, and then we have some rumors that are still in the air. Some transfers that are about to be completed. I'll start with Super Eagles midfielder. A player that went to the AFCON for Nigeria, a player that a lot of people, a lot of fans, have so much confidence and faith in his ability. But for whatever reason, some people think he's indisciplined, some people think he's lack of focus, some people think that he's just unlucky, some people think that maybe he's village people. For whatever reason, he has not been able to rise to the to the level that his talent would suggest or would have suggested that he'll rise to. I'm talking about Kelechi Nwakali. Kelechi Nwakali just made a transfer, 2-year deal signed with GD Chavez in the Portuguese First League. Personally, I think it is a huge step up for him. From playing in the second division in Spain, even getting relegated from the second division in Spain, to signing for a first division club in Portugal. I think it's a big step up for him. He already made his debut, in their penalty shootouts defeat, in the Portuguese League Cup. He came on, I think, in the 65th minute or thereabout as a substitute. Did fairly well, didn't do too much. Portugal is not somewhere that is new to him, though. He played there for FC Porto already in the past, when he was a much younger player. Now he's 25 years old. How do you think he can revive his career? Do you think he can still become a top quality player?
I think it's one of the stories of Nigerian age grades, players that really make me sad. I can tell you about that. It's a player that we have high hopes of. It was clearly above Victor and Chuk and Samuel, during their cadet years, and he got a move to Arsenal. We thought that we had a new Patrick Vieira that would just come into Arsenal, develop, and be a better player until the move happened. And what it's like what we saw is different from what other people saw. So the move to Venlo,
Mm,
from Venlo to Division Two Division Two in Holland, did fairly well. Is it Max Craft back to things just didn't work out well for him,
yeah.
even in FC Porto too. But I just think that he can take this one now as a new beginning. Don't forget that it was with Wesker when they were in Segunda Division. They got promoted together. So he also had the chance to play
Yeah.
in La Liga. So when he got promoted to La Liga,
Yeah.
I thought that that should be his opportunity to shine and announce himself to the world that here is Kelechi Wakali.
Mm,
But unfortunately, one of the games that he started, he performed so poorly in that game against Real Madrid. I think he was pulled off after the first half. So it's just his
mm,
transition to senior football has been very tough for him. The underage
mm.
is different from senior football. I think his transition to senior football has been
Yeah.
very tough for him, and I think that for him to get his level back and become like the star we used to know, now he's in his hand and it's in his hands. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that was gonna happen. It's so difficult.
Mm. But overall, what do you think of the transfer? Do you think it is the right move for him to have gone to Portugal?
Yeah, it's the right move for him because I've been worse for him to stay in Division 3 in Spain. Nobody will even discuss about him coming to Super Eagles. That is it. You are in Division
Mm,
2 and you got relegated again in Division 3. So maybe the
mm,
club self, Division 3, they go to Division 4 again. No, it's bad for him to move and go to Portugal. This is the right move for him. Though the GDC Chavas is not really a big club in Portugal. So I was expecting that, if it's even Braga, if he's that talented, if it's even Braga, or if it's Braga, or I'm not talking about, Braga, not one of the top three, but at least Braga is a decent club. But let him play in these GD Chavas. So if he
mm.
performs well, other clubs will take note of him and sign him, just like the one for Zaidu Sanusi. Sanusi was playing for a small club in the Premier Liga, and Porto saw him and he got
Yeah.
signed by Porto. So, because of hard work and what he played, so if he can also do the same thing too, it's not a bad move for him overall. It's just for another chance for him to show himself that he can play
Mm.
very well. So,
No,
it's not a
I
bad move.
agree. I agree.
Mhm.
And interestingly enough, GD Chavez, they finished seventh in the
Mhm.
Portuguese Premier last season. Nearly qualified for the Conference League, but they finished seventh. They finished higher than Boavista that has what's it
Mhm.
called? Chidozia was them. They
Mhm.
finished higher than Casapia that has Xavier Godwin. So ultimately, I'll say they're a middle of the pack team in
In Portugal.
Portugal. And
Mhm.
I'm really hoping that he can do well there and he can revive himself. I hope he can stay focused. I hope he can show his ability. Listening to what the
Mhm.
coaches are saying, just put in all the efforts, and try to be a quality player. Even though he might never rise to the level that people initially thought, he might never get to he might never get back to an Arsenal,
Mm-hmm.
but still, if he can find himself as a good player, in the Portuguese league, that can even maybe lead to potential move to one of the top teams in Portugal, or maybe he can try another club in Italy or France, or thereabouts. Kelechi Wakali, I'm rooting for you. I'm supporting you. I really, really hope that you can make us proud, and you can live up to the potential that a lot of people believe that you had, when we were playing at the under 17 level for Nigeria. Um, let's transition to a Super Eagles player who just made a move from Italy to the English Premier League. I'm talking about Ola Aina. Ola Aina signed a 1-year deal with Nottingham Forest with an option for a further year, club option. What do you think about this move? I've seen a lot of people that said, why is he signing a 1-year contract? Another 5-6 months now, he has to start thinking about his future again. Whereas some people are happy and saying, as long as he's in the Premier League, he'll be in the limelight. People will know how he's doing. What are your thoughts on this transfer, really?
It's not so a bad transfer. Don't forget that his contract ended with Torino in Italy, and he needed to actually what to move. So it's not a bad transfer, but that one
Mm,
year too is also another thing. It's like a loan. So
mm,
before you know now, the loan is nearly finished. So it's going to actually what really unsettle him slightly. If he couldn't get into the first team, by January, I'll probably be looking for a different club again. But I'm wishing him best of luck.
mm,
It's a very good move. Now he's in the Premier League. Now he's playing with like some Nigerian players in that same team. It's that same team too. And he's coming back to England. Don't forget that he was born in England. So it's like homecoming for him. He
mm,
knows the league very well. He knows the league very well. He knows the guys very well. Because I saw the video of his first day. Most of the white guys even know him very well. So I think it's
mm,
not a bad move for him. It's just for him to show himself, and good performance. He can now move on to like a better club, even from Nottingham Forest. And also on the good
mm.
side too is that if Nottingham Forest is battling relegation, at least in that 1 year he signed, so he will be able to move and run away if things didn't go according to plan. So on the other
Mm.
side too,
On,
you
on,
get
on,
it.
on that on
Yeah.
that relegation note, let me ask
Mm-hmm.
you, for the Super Eagles, how do you see this? Because now we have Taiwa Wini, we have Emmanuel Dennis, we have Olaino, all playing for Nottingham Forest. So if Nottingham Forest should mistakenly relegate, now three Niger players where they drop at once. This last season we saw them drop in two. This
Yes.
next year now, if Northern Forest you go down, they can be three that drop. Do you
Yes.
think it is a good thing for the Super Eagles to have three players all on the same team and not a top team?
It's not, nobody know when this relegation pandemic will turn to this year. It's like a fever.
Mm,
Nobody expected that Fulham would do well. So, but if we had three players in Fulham doing well, we'll be happy that Fulham is doing well and everything is
mm,
doing well. It's just unfortunate that Nottingham Forest were just battling what they could battling relegation last time. For Super Eagles, it's gonna be bad because if you have the national team playing the Premier League, they're now fighting relegation. They will have this losing mentality. Because, for example, now they will need a psychologist to tell them that they can win this game. Oh. So if you are playing week in,
mm.
week out, and you are losing games, it's bad for Super Eagles because Togo will come and you think, can we even win Togo? Before we know it, but South Tome will come. Say, can we even win this South Tome now? Because when you are used to losing, it's not a good thing. So I would rather have our players join a top club that they are used to winning. They have winning mentality. That if they can bring that one to the Super Eagles, that one is better than to join a club that is not really that not on the top notch. So it's not good for the Super Eagles to have one of
Mm.
our main people in the same status. That will potentially be battling relegation.
And I mean, I would say I agree with you on that. Hopefully it can just turn out good for us, and maybe Nottingham Forest can finish like 15th, in
Mm-hmm.
the league this season and not be in a difficult situation. Because the more Nigerian players we have playing in the Premier League is always a good thing. But at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, if they drop to the championship, then that good thing can go away very quickly. Ultimately, I'm wishing him all the best. All I know is a player that I've always liked, right from his youth days when he was, a Chelsea player. I've always thought he has a lot of talent. He did pretty well in Torino in Italy, and now moving back to his hometown, not his hometown, his home country, of England. Hopefully he can shine and he can do really well.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing, final thing that I will ask about this thing is how does he help Nottingham Forest chances that potentially two out of the three Nigerians they have will be going for AFCON in January.
You
Is
know,
it that they don't care?
it's another thing that they have to think about signing African players because apart from even Nigerian players leaving that team,
They
you have
have
Sergi,
other
they have
Africans on
some,
the
they have
team.
Daikate, they have all those guys, that probably going in January.
Yeah.
So it's a very big thing for them, I can tell you. But what they needed to actually what to do is this just to know exactly how to minimize what they do again with these boys because if you have like four African players in your starting lineup and they're going for AFCON, it's like they're injured. So it's going to like form
Mm.
like it's going to be very bad for the team. So I just think that the coach too, Steve Cooper, will be thinking about all these things and putting them together in his plans for next season. I'm pretty sure about that.
Oh. All right, all right.
Yes.
Let's move forward to another transfer that was completed within the last few days. A young player, a player that has not been capped for the Super Eagles this time around. I'm talking about Victor Boniface. He just signed a 5-year deal, with Bayer Leverkusen in the German Bundesliga. Leaving
Mm-hmm.
Royal Union Saint after lighting it up for them in the past season. Finishing as the top goal scorer in the UEFA Europa League.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is a player that I've spoken very highly about in the past. I think
Mm-hmm.
that he's a player that has potentially already deserved to be in one of the previous Super Eagles squads ahead of some other players.
Mm-hmm.
5-year deal with Leverkusen. I think this is a very big step up for him. He has a chance to really go and show himself at a very high level. He's going to be playing in the Europa League again with Bayer Leverkusen. He
Mm-hmm.
has a chance to play against top sides and really show his quality.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, I think he's one of our most skilled players that we have right now. I
Yes.
think he's very, very good with the ball. He makes good runs without the ball as well. He can finish, decently. He's good in the air. He can play a good pass. Uh, Um, I'm honestly very excited for this transfer, and I'm looking forward to watching him play. It's always interesting to see how young players step up because, of course, playing in Bodo Glimt in Norway, doing well there, moving to Belgium, doing well there. Now this one is like going from JS3 to SS1, where they now put you
Mm-hmm.
in science class, and
Yes.
then the real test for that maths,
Yeah.
physics, chemistry.
Yes.
Those subjects are now coming into the play. You see whether
Yes.
you really know book or
Mm-hmm.
not.
No.
How do you think, what do you think of the transfer, and how do you think he's going to fare in Germany?
Well, Victor Boniface have been someone that has, we realize that every season he's been doing well, been progressing. So I think Victor Boniface fits the Bundesliga. I can just tell you that. So he fits the Bundesliga, and it's very important that he can actually what he can get into the team early so that when he gets into the team
Mm,
early, he'll be able to actually what adapt very well. I think the coach too is also a big fan. Is a big fan of him. So we just think that they could actually he could adapt very well and join. It's a big move for him, no doubt about that. It's a big move for him going from Belgian league to what's it called to the German Bundesliga. And like you said about Victor Boniface, he could play any role up front. So any coach in the world will actually want to have that type of player in his team. And don't forget, it reminds me
mm,
of a certain Daniel Debu Amakashi. There's a way he plays with power, right and left, and placing. You get it? So accurate too. So I think that Victor Boniface going to Bundesliga, that should be like a good audition for him among the big boys. And that is not his
mm.
last destination. You see, he's still going
You know,
somewhere
I,
higher.
I was going to ask you, do you think he's going to spend those 5 years that he signed in
I
Leverkusen,
don't think
or
so.
you
I don't
think he's
think
going
so.
to move?
He's gonna be like Osimhen. He's gonna be like
Mm.
Victor. He's gonna be like Victor.
One or two seasons, then he's going somewhere else, you
I
think?
think two by two seasons he should be. You will see them bringing big money for him. I pray everything just works well for him, injury free. That's it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in his ability as well, and I really hope that it happens for him like that. Of course, Leverkusen will put enough time on the contract, so that they can give themselves the chance to make profits in the future. And I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
even his agent is not going to mind 5-year contract because by the
Yes.
time he takes commission on 5-year contract,
Yes.
you have some
It's.
money in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you know,
You have some money in the bank.
but
Yes.
I also believe that in a few years, yeah, we're expecting him to move to an even bigger side. And
Yes.
it just is interesting for Nigerian football because we have so many forwards, strikers, wingers
Mm-hmm.
that are playing at very, very high levels. And
Yes.
speaking of Nigerian forwards and wingers, we also have Samuel Chukwueze,
Yes.
who is on the verge of making a permanent move to AC Milan in Italian Serie A. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
AC Milan, we just saw played in the UEFA Champions League final
Semi-final.
last season. Semi-final rather, they lost to Inter in the semi-final last season. What do you think this move can do for Chukwueze? Do you think this move is coming at the right time, or is it a little bit later than we had expected?
I think it's come at the right time. I think he has learned his lessons. He got injured. He's back. He has lost form. He has gained form. He has been on the bench. So I think it's coming at the right time for him. And I think that
Mm.
this is when we will now know maybe Chukwueze is really world class, because he's going to a team that there's going to be pressure on you to win every game. There's going to be pressure on you
Mm.
to win every game. In Villarreal, there's no really pressure on you to win any game. If you go away to Real Madrid and you win, it's a shock result. If you go away to this thing and you win, it's a shock result. But when you go to Napoli and you win, it's not really a shock result. You meant to win. Because you're going to play in the San Siro derby against Inter Milan, in the bone breaking derby. That we just it's going to. So I think that this is when we know maybe it's really world class, and I hope that it goes well for him because it's a big thing for Nigeria. If you have a Nigerian player doing well in AC Milan, one day we're in Napoli, one in Atlanta, our front three doing well in Italy. Teams going to fear us now. So
Potentially
so
one
I
doing
think
well
that
in Inter Milan as well.
we better pray for him to do well. That's it. Simple to fear us. So I think that he's going to actually do well.
Mm, mm.
Yes.
Interesting. Let me ask you this question. Do you think he's going to start in AC Milan though? I mean, considering the fact that AC Milan already have Rafael Leao and they just signed Christian Pulisic, do you think Chukwueze is actually going to start for them?
I think he's going to start. I think Chukwueze is going to be the one to take the place of Brahim Diaz.
Mm.
Yes, Brahim Diaz is in Madrid. I don't think they're taking him back again. He's going to take the place of Brahim Diaz. I think Pioli wanted a right winger with left foot.
Mm.
Yes, a right
Okay,
winger with
okay.
what? With left.
I mean, of course, I'm hoping that he gets to start, so that he can actually show his quality, and hopefully he can, get a lot of goals and assists, play at that very high level. Can be very exciting to have our players, like you said, all shining in the top European clubs, and if Akin Samiro wants to show himself as well, he can also be shining in Inter Milan, so it could be an interesting one for the Nigerian setup. And like I said on I think probably the first episode we had, the competition for places in the Super Eagles squad is going to be so strong, so challenging. The number of quality players that we have playing for quality clubs.
Mm-hmm.
I love to see it, honestly. It's one of the things that I have really wanted for our national team to have so many good players doing well in different clubs. And hopefully Chukwueze can have a good one, can show himself in AC Milan, potentially win one or two trophies. Even
Yes,
though he's already won the Europa League with Villarreal. Was it the Europa League or Conference League they won?
Europa League.
Um, Europa League, yeah, he's already won the Europa League, but hopefully he can win some more trophies in AC Milan. And
Yes.
I mean, Chukwueze, we're wishing you all the very best, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, finally, to wrap up our transfer talk, our Oyinbo goalkeeper, Maduka Okoye, we have to keep talking about him because unfortunately we don't have that many goalkeepers in our rotation right now. I mean,
Yes.
as at the last squad, calling goalkeepers from the Nigerian Professional Football League, And when you think of the foreign-based goalkeepers, it still comes down to Adeleye Uzoho and Maduka Okoye.
Yes.
We had heard reports, news that Maduka Okoye was going to join Udinese in the Italian Serie A, but he was supposed to go there and be the second choice goalkeeper behind Silvestri, who of course is a quality goalkeeper and has been doing well for Udinese. But now, the new news the new information that I got was that he is now exploring his options in Turkey. Nothing is confirmed yet, but Maduka and representatives are looking at maybe they should go to Turkey so that he doesn't have to sit on the bench, so that he can be first choice. He really wants to revive his career and get back into the Super Eagles setup. I mean, Turkey, of course, we've spoken about Nigerian players and Turkey a lot, But what do you think? Do you think it could be a good one for him to get his career back on track? Do you think moving to Turkey can be a good decision?
I think I don't know why Turkey. Why not go back to Eredivisie or even Belgium? Why Turkey? Why do our players like Turkey? I don't know. Why can't you go back to Eredivisie? So I just think that it's very important that our, if they can scout Turkey very well and they realize that there's a team in the Superliga, in the Turkish Super League that does not have a first choice, I just saw their first choice goalkeeper. I think they might actually explore that option. The most important thing for him now is for him to get to a place that is playing week in, week out. We all know how important it is for a goalkeeper to be in goal week in, week out. Training is different too. Training no be match
Mm.
oh. If you use training form to go and be playing match, if they fire shots, you go those you think say na gun then fire. So it's very important that
Mm.
we should pray for the agents to see a club in Turkey that can play him as a first choice goalkeeper. No Super Liga club, no Super League club too. We want just to come as a first choice. They want to walk your way. Show me why you are better than the one we have before. So I think that I just want him to play. I know AFCON is coming and we want to go to the AFCON. So he should just play. And I wish him the very best of luck.
Mm. And just to say why Turkey, my opinion, I think one of the reasons why he might be looking at Turkey and not going back to a league like the Eredivisie is money, the paper. I mean,
Mm.
moving to Watford, Watford is an English team. English teams have a bigger budget. Even though they're in the championship, they are able to pay him a decent amount of money. And I think as at the time when he signed for Watford, they were still in the English Premier League. So
Mm-hmm.
they probably gave him a decent amount of money. If he moves back to the Eredivisie, I don't think any team there will be able to handle the kind of wages that he'll be on right now. And I
Yes.
mean, I don't know how much he's making. I don't think it's anything huge, but it's still a sizable chunk when you look at how much players in the lower leagues or lower top 10 leagues in Europe get paid. But we know Turkey, they pay their players pretty well there. I mean, they might owe you salary, but when they pay you well, So I think maybe that's the reason why he's looking at Turkey as a potential destination. I wish him all the best. Honestly, Maduka Okoye is a player that I liked him a lot when he was playing for Sparta Rotterdam. When he started playing for us regularly, I fought for
Mm.
him. Even when people did not think he was a good goalkeeper, I defended him. So I really need him to come back into form so that he can repay those of us that believed in him. He can repay us for our faith. Of course, since that time that he made the error against Tunisia, was it
Tunisia.
in the AFCON?
Tunisia. Yeah.
Fans have not forgiven him. So he also needs to come back into the Super Eagles setup to redeem himself and show Nigerians that he has quality. But
Yes.
yes, Maduka, wherever you end up, we'll be supporting you, we'll be watching you,
Yeah.
Turkey or Italy or otherwise. I honestly wish him all the best and I hope that he
Yeah.
can pick his career back up. I mean, he's still a young player, so he has a number of years, but if he wants to establish himself as a quality option for Nigeria, he needs to be playing football
Yeah.
week in, week out.
We go.
Okay, that's the summary of all our topics for today. Do you have any other thing to add before we round off for this episode?
No, it's just so we're still going to see more transfers coming. So I just want to wish Nigerian players moving the very best of luck. There's no, we still come back very soon. maybe after the Australia game to see, depends on how it works, to see, to what's it called, to see, to do the review of the game.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I'm on the same page. Wishing Nigerian players all the best. Wishing the Super Falcons all the very best in their game against Australia and of course Ireland ahead as well. Let's go for that qualification. Let's get as many points as we can, and Nigeria no dey ever carry last. My name is AyoT, and my co-host is.
Smith Layi.
Yes. Thank you for watching and listening to the NaijaFC podcast. Until next time, bye bye, guys.
See you guys. Bye.